What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, back with another live stream here tonight. Going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly with Veve. The vault values, we know, have been bleeding out and dropping for a long, pretty much a good stretch of time. Meanwhile, though, on the flip side, Omi's been trending upwards this last week or so, and the whole crypto market's been kind of on an upswing this month. So we're going to get into all of it. We're going to talk about Veve, why I'm not concerned with the downtrend and the continued downtrend in prices, and talk about some stuff. Let's see who we got in the house over here. SoCal first. Rigby second. We got Poppy in the house. What's going on? We got Rigby in the house. So I was going to go over some of this stuff yesterday, but I had a special surprise guest, My Collectibles, hit me up right before I went on and asked if to come on the stream because we've been trying to get together for some time. So My Collectibles joined me last night for a stream. We had a great conversation. And today I want to get into some Omi stuff, overall crypto market. And SoCal says got another 3 million this week. Wow, actually sold Illuvium. I wonder how Illuvium is doing. I know you follow it, SoCal. A lot of people like Illuvium. Let me know your thoughts on it. Continuing to dollar cost average into Omi. Felipe in the house. Uncle Mike's Cryptonomics. What's going on, buddy? Yeah, so Veve Fox actually did her monthly report today. She released a video documenting data for Veve over the last month, and I think it's pretty much what we already knew, right? That things were daily active users were down, new wallets were down, overall sales were down. So we'll get into some reasons for that. And let's throw it up and start with this. So if you didn't check out Veve Fox's video, I suggest you do. She does great work aggregating and putting together the data. This was for the month of September, and every month she goes through a breakdown of active users, market activity, and what's going on over in the Veve store. Last month in August, there was a bit of an uptick in terms of new users. It's been a slow year. Obviously, we're in a bear market, right? But August had a bit of an uptick, probably due to San Diego Comic-Con. In September was a big drop. If you look at active users and active wallets, there was a decline of 22% of active wallets in Veve. Only 476 new wallets, down over 50% from the previous month, right? So less new wallets. In terms of trades, down 25% of market activity. And that, correlates to the active wallets, right? If there are less active wallets, there are going to be less active trades and active traders. But the Veve store stuff, not great numbers. More drops than the previous month, right? 25 drops, which is +3 from August. Tokens issued. So this is the number of collectibles that they were minting or issuing was 150,000, but they only sold 67,000 of them, right? So in other words, 45% of inventory sold, 55% was left on the shelf. So overall, not a great month in September. I think that's due to the quality of drops, right? There weren't any big drops in September. There weren't a lot of things that were hyped. There were some things that a lot of people just passed on, like the Star Wars vehicles, I think, dropped. Um, then there were things also like, I think, the Encanto, right, that didn't do particularly well. But we've been seeing this trend, and I talked a bit about this yesterday with my collectibles when I was talking about, edition sizes and how I think that they need to just kind of match the supply to the current demand. Um, but this is the overall state of where Veve is. Not great, right? Doesn't look great, but it's, to me, I'm not concerned, right? And that's because I think it mirrors I don't think it's a Veve problem. I think it's it's the whole space is the whole digital collectibles space is struggling. If you look over at, there was an interesting tweet. I'll bring this up. Give me 1 second. Where is it? Stuff gets lost. Hold on 1 second. Let me find my bookmarks. There was an interesting tweet about the overall decline in, here it is. Sergio had retweeted this. So if you look at what's happening in Veve and the decline in sales and trading and active users, it mirrors the entire space, right? When you look at the overall NFT market, look at ETH active wallets, how a sharp decline, all right, over the last year, particularly over the last few months. And I think the active wallets over there were actually surpassed by active wallets on Veve. So this was an interesting quote by Sergio. Veve had 26,000 active users who made at least one purchase last month, right? I think he was speaking about August. Veve is bigger than all ETH NFTs. All right, so 1 year ago, there were 43,000 active NFT wallets. Today, there are 8.6 thousand active NFT wallets. All right, that's according to this person's data. He asks, are NFTs going to zero? The answer is no. I think we all know that, right? But it's bear market. And just as, crypto collapsed and, a lot of Bitcoin went to $15,000 and ETH went to $900 and we saw OMI go to 0005, you're seeing a slow bleed out in the whole NFT space. And I think if you had asked people, a year ago, if they thought this would happen, they'd say yes, right? Everyone expected it. Gary Vee called it. He said, prepare yourself for the winter. 99% of projects will die off. Things are going to die off. And that's exactly what's happened, right? Money has left the space and maybe things are bottoming out. Maybe they'll continue to bleed out. I'm not concerned when we talk about Veve and the active wallets and people talking about how it's on the decline, it doesn't concern me because I look at it as a broader trend, right? If the whole market was trending up and Veve was trending down, I would be concerned. If, we were in a bull market and money was flooding back in and Veve was still bleeding out, then I would question my thesis, or re-question it. But, when the whole market's down and the whole space and money's drying out and that's being mirrored in Veve, it doesn't, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't raise any red flags for me. And you're also seeing that when we talked about yesterday, there's been a lot of talk about the Funko partnership, right? But the traditional collectibles market has also mirrored what's going on in the NFT space, right? Hundreds of Funko Pops were found at a landfill after news that $35 million worth would be destroyed. This comes on the heels of massive demand for Funko Pops during the pandemic. And just as we saw in, crypto and the NFT space, the traditional collectibles market, it was an everything bubble, right? The traditional collectibles market also saw things spiral out of control with people who had more money than they knew what to do with, and they were stuck at home and throwing money at things. And the popularity of Funkos also exploded, and now the air has come out of that as well. And they've had to destroy some inventory because there was a bit of oversupply, right? They didn't mint, they created, right? They created more Funko Pops because people were collecting heavily, and then they were left on the shelves and they had to destroy them. And that's a bigger deal when you're talking about the physical collectibles space, because they actually have to destroy the physical product, right? And that costs more money to create. And so I'm not bothered by, or it doesn't, raise a red flag for me that Veve's in a bit of a continued downtrend, as long as the rest of the space is also in a continued downtrend. I think that the first order of business during a bear market is to survive the bear market, right? To have enough financial runway to power through and get through the bear market, because there are many that don't. Most don't. Nifty's didn't. Recur didn't. So many don't even make it through. And then the second order of business in the bear market is to build during the bear market. And as long as I see the team continuing to do that, then my perspective is my thesis holds true, and they keep building and moving on and emerge on the other side of the bear market fundamentally stronger. All right. And so the Funko partnership is another step in that direction. It's another piece of the puzzle, the building block. Long term, they need to grow their user base, and going the phygital avenue is another strategy. And it's interesting. I was doing some research on the phygital ecosystem, and it's only going to get bigger. Right? This is only going to become more common. You're going to see more companies like Funko look to capitalize on crypto and blockchain technology, NFTs, and get a piece of that pie. And we see that. Here's an article on VeChain, leading $1 billion Phigitals market as 450 developers turn to vet blockchain ecosystem for the new global standard. Right, so we're seeing this trend, and Veve's, the forefront of the trend. They're partnering with the biggest IP, and now with a major toy company to continue their path forward. So that's what I like to see, is just continuing to build. And Mike Collectibles had a great point yesterday when he said what spoke to him also was the fact that Funko chose Veve to partner with. Right? So bullish. Another article I found is just what is phygital art and why is Dubai going big on it. And this is just, again, to reinforce the idea that phygital is the future, right? It's not going to be strictly digital. Physicals aren't going away. What we're going to see in the future when blockchain technology becomes the norm is, everything having a digital counterpart to it, particularly in the world of art. And Dubai is going big on it. And let's see if interest in digital art has grown since NFTs exploded into the mainstream in 2021, making headlines. Remember when Beeple sold one of his digital pieces for $69 million? That's crazy. It's funny to be in a bear market and forget how crazy things were at the height of the last craze. When Beeple sold a digital piece for $69 million. Now, will we ever get back to that? Maybe not. Maybe the hype, it's kind of like the dot-com era, right? When things were out of control and then like everything burnt to the ground. But out of the ashes came the real companies that emerged and flourished, on the other side of it. And I think it's going to be similar with crypto. It's going to be similar with NFTs. Anytime you have a new technology and innovation, there's going to be a ton of speculation. You're going to get the bubble that's going to eventually burst. And then the fundamentally weak companies that don't have a product that resonates, that don't have a strong community or a product or partnerships, they die off, right? And we see that happening. The ones that survive and continue to build and be the leaders end up on the other side of things and doing well long term. So bear markets suck and they're not easy to get through. And you're going to see numbers like we're seeing here, right? You're going to see stuff like this in a bear market. Now, that's not to suggest or say that there aren't things that Veve can do better, right? And I've gone over it ad nauseum. I'm not going to talk about it now more, but from my perspective, it's like supply demand thing. But another thing that's going to help them kind of get out of this decline and get some more positive momentum going is the Veveverse, right? And getting that out. Now, yesterday, I was talking to my collectibles. I think it was Javier Torres who found it. He circled on the Funko description. They talked about how the Veveverse rollout would coincide with the drop of the Funko, the Iron Man Funko. So mid-October. I don't think the Veveverse is coming mid-October. From what I'm hearing from beta testers still, is that there are still some kinks to work out in terms of the animated collectibles, right? And the sound. So still some kinks to work out. And I don't think they should rush to release it. As frustrating as it is to wait, I don't think that's something that they should rush to release. Because when you rush to release it to everyone, everyone's excitement is heightened. And then when they get it, and if it's glitchy and underwhelming, it just kind of deflates and defeats the whole purpose, right? And so let them work out the kinks, continue to add waves of beta testers. I see Not Sure asking a question. It is out, but to beta testers. So let them continue to do it in waves. And then I think that once Veveverse comes out, they mix in a few high quality drops again. You'll get the enthusiasm back. New York Comic Con's around the corner. We're going to see an uptick in wallets, I think, as that exposure gets more exposure gets spread. And we always see a bit of an uptick during the con events. So, it sucks to see like this data, but overall it doesn't. I see the bigger picture. Let's go back to the chat here for a second. We got Bearman in the house. Veve users still waiting for MCP points. So that's another thing. What catalysts in the next 12 months are actually going to bring masses? So I don't think that any one catalyst. I think what's going to bring masses is you need the market to turn around, right? You're not going to get people flooding back into this until the market turns around. And once crypto comes back, then I think you're going to see people returning to NFTs. But I think it's going to be a little cyclical like that. And, the halving will come. Bitcoin will do its thing. The alts will follow. And then I think, SoCal, my thinking is, then let's say OMI goes up. And it goes about, even if it goes up to 0.008 or 1 penny, then I think you're going to see arbitrage, right? Where people are going to take their profits from OMI And if Todd is still sitting at $500, $600, $700, they're gonna take their money from Omi and funnel it into Veve. And that's what happened last cycle when, first Bitcoin popped, then Ethereum, money flows into Ethereum, then money flows into alts. And last cycle, at the end of it, money flowed into NFTs. You had people who were crypto rich degenning into profile pics, right? With no utility, with no IP, with just promises, most of them empty promises, many of them scams, right? But the people were crypto rich and just made so much money off alts that they were just degenning into the NFT space. We'll see what happens because, again, it's so nascent, and this is now going to be the second NFT cycle. But I think that's what brings masses back is the market returning. And then I think, so a lot of people are dismissive of, a lot of people are hesitant to get in because they see the headlines, they see the epic collapse, and they lose confidence and faith, right? When things drop, it's like crypto. 90% of people left crypto after the first crash. They left. Those that stuck around did well. And then a whole bunch of new people entered the space, right? And then all those people left once crypto crashed again. NFT space is going to evolve, and you're going to see people funnel in and out of it. People lose confidence after a market crash. Once the market comes back, if it follows like the pattern, then I think people regain some confidence. And I think long term, then that's what makes it sustainable. And that's when you build your collectors, because people then see it as more of a long-term thing than as a fading trend. But in terms of masses, I don't think anything that they do right now are going to bring masses, right? I think it's going to be, the industry has to get built out over time, legitimized. It's going to take many companies to do it. And we see McFarland in on it. It's going to take McFarland. It'll take Amazon. It'll take eBay. It's going to take all these marketplaces to come in and legitimize this space. It's going to take a Bitcoin ETF approval to even legitimize the whole crypto world and get institutional money in there and just normalize it. And then to make people think that it's not a scam, to normalize it and make it an acceptable thing. So I think it's going to take years, right? But, and I think it's going to have ups and downs. And so if you're in it, I think you have to have a long-term perspective, and you have to be able to ride out the downturn. And if you're correct that this is the future, digital collecting is part of the future, and Veve is at the forefront of it, then, things work out and long-term things work out. And if we're wrong that digital collecting is not, then it's not for anyone, right? Then they're all going to lose. I don't think that's the case. I think that digital collecting will be here. I think that the Veveverse will give people some form of utility and allow them to interact with it, and that'll help. But it's really interesting to watch it play out. And going back to that whole thing of it's going to require everyone to build it. You see McFarlane, if you're watching McFarlane, they dropped the Batmobile, which was it's an iconic, one of the most iconic vehicles, right? And they minted, I think, like 1,200, 1,300, which I said at the time was too big for their user base because they have a fraction of Veve's, right? And they didn't even sell out the Batmobile. An iconic drop. They burned, I want to say, a third of the supply, right? So that again shows you that this isn't a Veve issue. It's an industry. It's industry wide. This is just where the whole space is at. It's a matter of liquidity. It's a matter of money. It's a matter of confidence that people have in it. And also, let's be real. If I have to decide between putting, every paycheck, if I have a few $100s to spend and I have to decide where to put it, right now I'm putting it into crypto personally. Other people might not have discretionary money because of inflation. And, this also happens, right? During times of economic times that we're facing now with record credit card debt and high interest rates and people paying 25% on their credit cards, people don't have that discretionary money. The collectibles industry as a whole traditionally doesn't do well during macro times like we're in now. And then even if you have discretionary money and it's a matter of, part of this is like investment or whatever, and Bitcoin's $25,000 or 27 and alts are super cheap, that's where a lot of money's going. And again, maybe if the cycle plays out the same way, the masses come back towards the end. That would be like 2025, right? Maybe we bottom out and start to ride back up. And then once once alts pump, money funnels back in. But it's kind of like, let me pull up. Do you guys, if you're familiar with what's that? The stock like depression cycle. I don't know if you're. Let me pull this up. This. It's kind of like, this is how I feel like, what I feel it's like right now for like the whole digital collectibles space. Kind of in that depression zone right now, right? Where things bottom out. And then if this is long-term sustainable and really an industry that's building it for the future, eventually you'll see a little bit of a trend upwards, and then money comes back into the space. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me get back into the chat. Veve still have Veve NFT assets on GoChain. The migration IMX still not complete. I think that is confused. Yeah, that's a good point in terms of MCP and what's going on over there. They have so many. They minted over 1 million, like what, 1.5 or something, 150,000 in September alone. Gives you an idea of the number of collectibles that they mint. Millions of collectibles they've minted. It's really a big success story when you think about it. How much inventory they've created. That's also a problem when you're backlogging it. And part of me thinks they should have simplified it. I know it's not fair to people here from the beginning. They'd get shortchanged, but even if they didn't go back to the beginning and they just started at a certain point or whatever, and then rewarded early collectors another way, but just to get MCP going. It's really kind of a complicated, convoluted system. And if they just went simple with it, but they didn't, right? They had a big vision for it. Long-term, that big vision, I'm sure it's going to be dope. But it would be nice to get people rewarded for their collecting and for them to get that done. I thought about exchanges. It could be massive to let their user base. Yeah, this goes back to SoCal and what SoCal was asking about attracting masses. I think once again, crypto pumps and OMI, then you have the whole OMI aspect of it. And people, I don't know if you guys saw, let me pull this up. So Crypto Bro quote tweeted something today. Where is it? Something about Orbeez, which is the parent company of Veve and OMI, dropping the where is it? dropping blockchain from the description of the company or from the name of the company. So I can't find it. Basically, he brought up that Orbeez, the parent company of Veve and Omi, changed their name from blockchain technologies to just technologies or whatever. And people were questioning, well, what's that about? Are they leaving blockchain, or is that like a negative indicator? Are they rugging? And I saw a bunch of FUD posts. And I forget why I bring that up. But to speak on it, I just think that's a part of their branding and not being so closely, not putting it out there that they're so closely associated with blockchain and limiting themselves to just blockchain, and also drawing attention to the company from, regulatory institutions, right? That they changed it from whatever it was, blockchain technologies, to just like technologies. And I forget the point I was going to make, but it is that once Omi gets on exchanges and once alts are running, people are going to once again discover Veve through Omi, right? And that's how I found Veve, and that's how many people found Veve, through Omi. So people question, well, do they even need Omi? They're not really. And as of now, right, the only use case is MCP points. Bronze tickets are on the way. And Reese reiterated that it is still a Q4 goal and priority. And that's next in line in terms of Omi utility, bronze tickets. But people question if Veve even needs Omi. And my answer to that is that the whole digital collectibles NFT space is based on blockchain technology, and it's just so closely related and intertwined with crypto that, it leverages the whole crypto space. And so once Omi is again, catching eyes, you're going to see new people get introduced to Veve. There's going to be arbitrage that takes place, people selling Omi into Veve, and then vice versa. If and when Veve collectibles pop again, you're going to see people sell off their Veve into Omi if there's an arbitrage to be played between them, right? If one is overvalued and one is undervalued. And this is going to be a constant thing that takes place. So, another possible reason for declining vault values is people selling collectibles to buy Omi, sensing more utility, or with now a lot of people had a 10 million staking goal, right? They want to, gain those daily MCP points. And so you had a lot of collectors who were waiting on the sidelines for Omi utility now look to sell collectibles to put hit that 10 million goal. And you're going to see that arbitrage between the two assets take place forever, right? One is overvalued or one's undervalued, and your people are going to trade between the two. SoCal says mostly bots. Correct. There were so many factors that played into that last pump. A lot of bots. And that's not just on the Veve side of things. You could talk about the whole NFT space was hyper inflated also through if you look at OpenSea and wash sales and manipulation of prices. And if you look at what went on with Bored Ape Yacht Club, with celebrities being paid to endorse and driving prices up, the whole space was pumped up, manipulated by different things, not the least of which was the money that was manipulated and printed. Paul Barron recent NFT video was slightly reassuring. Yeah, I missed that. I saw that he released an NFT video. Thanks, SoCal. I got to watch that. Maybe I'll watch that and talk about it next time. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. Also interesting was Ryan calling out Paul Barron. I don't know if you guys saw that, but Ryan tweeted at Paul Barron and took a shot at him. That was interesting. Honestly, did Veve really push now for increasing user base, or are they waiting? So now here's the thing. I think that I kind of agree with what they're doing because there are different ways to grow the user base. One is boots to the ground, hit the con events, which they're doing, right? Another is through content creators in different niches, right? So hitting up the Star Wars group, the physical collectors, I mean, and traditional physical comic collectors. And then there's like mass marketing and also like they've done some marketing we've seen the stories on Lambo. We've seen a story on Stan Lee, Sesame Street. But in terms of like putting money into advertising, I think that in this market, I don't think it would yield major results. And I think it would be a big money drain. So when we talk about, again, rule number one of a bear market is survive the bear market. You don't have as much cash flow. They're not raking in as much money as they did, obviously, at the height of things. So you don't have that cash flow, that expendable money to put into a marketing campaign that may or may not yield any results because it's such a nascent technology. It's so hard to convert people. I would rather see them do some limited marketing like they're doing and wait for the market dynamics to change, and then start it. Croner, what's good? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining. I hope they deliver MCP points by end of year. It's getting long now. 100% agree. 3 things I want to see end of the year. I would like to see bronze tickets for OMI utility. I'd like to see MCP points because it's long overdue. And there are people with a lot of them, and I think they should have the ability to spend them. And I want to see Veveverse on a wider rollout. If we got one of those 3, I would be placated, right? And I would, it's another step forward. Let's see what happens. I think we'll continue to get, I know another batch of beta testers going out. I'll be at New York Comic Con next week. So I'm going to see if I hear anything about Veveverse. Maybe they'll talk about it some more. Last Comic Con, they sat down, or David sat down, I think, or was it Dan? I forget, with Veve Magic. Right? And so we'll see. I know that David is on Pop One's show tomorrow, but I think they're just talking comics. That was a pre-recorded thing, but I'm sure that eventually they're going to come out and say something. Hype plus 0% interest rates, correct. Easy money created an unrealistic or a crazy time. While Cardano, NFTs, and TVL just keeps going up this whole bear market. Correct, but they're starting from a base of nothing, right? Cardano didn't really have an NFT space prior, right? It's not like they had a thriving NFT space during the bull market, so they had nowhere to go but up. I love Cardano. I own a lot of Cardano. I'm happy to see them going up and keep building. But I think that if Cardano was popping during the bull market, we would have seen the same thing, right? You saw Solana, you saw DeGods, you saw a bunch of projects popping off on that ecosystem, and it had certain days that it surpassed Ethereum in terms of NFT activity. And, things bled out a bit. There's still activity, right? But I think the same would have happened to Cardano, obviously. If they were popping during the bull market, they would have died off. But Cardano really just was getting started during the bull market in terms of their smart contracts and their scalability and development over there. But super excited to see what Cardano does next time around. I think it's time to fire some people from Macomi. I'm not sure about that. Not sure. I think it's time to hire more people. I think if anything, they're understaffed. They've been understaffed, and they didn't have the ability to scale to the extent that they promised or that they were expected to. And I think that since they've added people, you've seen more of a cadence. And you also have to remember that they're dealing with a lot of tech debt in terms of having to retroactively fix things, code that maybe wasn't up to snuff with with the original team. When there was just a few people working, they have to retroactively fix things and build at the same time. And so leads to delays, but I am happy with the cadence that they hit this year. I think that they've gotten a lot accomplished. We finally got some OMI utility. I'd be very happy if the bronze tickets come out, and then we'll be looking forward to the next thing that comes out, right? But I think that first bit of utility was a big step for OMI. You see it reflected in the sentiment of the token because, and I'm going to get to OMI in a minute and talk about the overall market, but you saw the rest of the market recover from lows and OMI flatlining at 0005 and bleeding in the frustration. And that was due to confidence and sentiment being down because nothing had been accomplished on the OMI side of things. But then they finally delivered something, and that incentivized Veve holders who didn't have OMI to go and buy it, right? So it gave it actual utility, but maybe even better than, well, it's nothing better than that. But in addition to that, it restored confidence and shifted sentiment and gave people, again, confidence that they are working on getting things done. And now there are more catalysts ahead. Yeah, no updates at all lately, Davey boy. And that, usually when there's a period of silence, I kind of expect an announcement soon, right? I expect something. Although the Funko update, the Funko announcement, we take things for granted, but they got the Funko announcement, then they had the Louboutin with, I thought that was like Louis V. I was tired yesterday until someone pointed out on stream. Totally different. But let me, I bookmarked. Where was it? Nope, maybe it's not there. But they're still building. And in addition to the Funko partnership, you had a little while ago, Christian Louboutin, is that how I'm pronouncing it right? I don't even know. They tweeted out about the Marvel partnership. They don't mention Veve in it, but they talk about joining forces with Marvel to bring you an unprecedented collection celebrating Disney's 100-year legacy. All right, and if you look at them, they have 2.8 million followers, right? So we talk about marketing and exposure. It doesn't get much better than getting marketed. And it would be nice if they said the Veve in there just for brand recognition, just because the more times people hear the name Veve, the more normal it is. And the first 20 times they may ignore them. But on the 21st time, they may circle back and say, I've heard about this company. I've seen it. I've seen it mentioned alongside Funko. I've seen it mentioned alongside Disney. Let me check it out. What is Veve? And that's why this exposure, I think, is good over the long term. Just getting people exposed over and over again conditions them. And then one day, maybe a light bulb goes off or they check it out for real, and then they're onboarded. Because if you are familiar with the advertising world, I think there's a rule in advertising that talks about 7 exposures, right? It takes, on average, like 7 times for someone to come in contact with something before they're willing to buy it. I think with a new technology like this, and it being NFTs, which have a dirty, negative connotation to many because they associate it with scam, with 90% drop, with going to zero. It's going to take 100 exposures, not 7. It's going to take multiple. It's going to take, a lot of building familiarity and acceptance and normalization. Again, that comes with big companies normalizing it, like Amazon, eBay, etc., creating their own marketplaces. But it's going to come also from companies like this. And it's got 40,000 views so far, 7 hours ago, 300 likes. I don't expect people who buy the product to flock to Veve for this. I don't think it's going to have much of an impact. But it goes back to the point that I'm making, that this is a long-term plan to build an industry, to create a brand that becomes known the same way that Funko is now known. And everyone knows, everyone, I would say 50, 60 years old and younger knows now what a Funko Pops are, even if they don't collect them. It's a brand name. To build that Veve brand, you need constant exposure. To normalize digital assets, you need constant exposure. And so that's why I think that partnerships like this are significant. Not to mention how wearables and fashion might play into the space and into the Veveverse long term, and how it's kind of a new vertical to branch off into. It's going to be interesting. And I guarantee you that the 317 people who like this are Veve collectors already, right? But again, to me, that's not the point. I love to see the partnership. Rigby says bronze ticket is in development, but when? Yeah, I guess the answer is soon, right? And they said it's a Q4 priority. I like the fact that they're not saying when. So they've made improvements in terms of their communication, because in the past they would give us a hard date and then it wouldn't come and we'd be disappointed. So they're not doing that now. They're just saying this is next in the pipeline. And Reese was in Telegram maybe last week, and he reaffirmed and restated that this is in the pipeline still, and it's a Q4 priority. So hopefully by the end of the year, I don't know. I would really love for them to have the ability to buy Omi also in the web wallet. We'll see what happens. This wave thing, it is unique. I don't know what that is. Usually you have experimental branches. I'm not sure. Let's see what else. We need users, more users. Yes, 100%. That's going to take time. And I think they know they need users, and this is why they're branching out, trying to branch out into Asia. I don't think the users are coming again. Maybe they reclaim. I think the low-hanging fruit for Veve is dormant users or users who have left. That's low-hanging fruit. And there are thousands of them. And even if you reclaimed a fraction of them, there would be a noticeable difference on the app. Even if they just got back 5% of dormant users, inactive wallets. How do they do that? I think the Veveverse is an excellent vehicle towards that, because it's going to, again, provide utility, create excitement, give you something to do with your collectibles. Because let's be honest, when I first got into Veve and I was using the AR, I thought it was cool. And I was taking pictures of people with my collectibles, but that gets old quick. And you need more. You need to be able to do more. Veveverse is the platform where we'll be able to do more. So I think it will do two things. One, provide a big deliverable that restores confidence in people who have lost confidence. But two, provide this space for them to utilize their collectibles, and again, incentivize people to buy things because they want to display them Not just because they want to scroll, they're looking for monetary value, but because they want to build with them. They want to create a space with them and then share it with others. And so I think that's the low-hanging fruit for Veve. They have an opportunity to reclaim dormant users. Long-term, I think getting new users, they'll have to chip away and do it one by one until there's wider acceptance and market conditions change. Those are my thoughts. I'm thinking that influx of APAC users, along with the rollout of anime, will be the pivot point of Veve and get us. Could be, yeah. Another vertical like anime could do it. Even, sports, if done right. I haven't really seen, aside from Top Shot, which had a lot of hype, I haven't really seen sports done right. And Top Shot has fizzled out, as far as I know. I would love to see them do sports right. Possibly another vertical, like Mike says here with anime. Another category helps bring, people back or people in, new people in. Yeah, offers would be nice. Omi to NFT. These things are coming. Down with eBay and Amazon. I know. eBay and Amazon suck. They're centralized, right? They'd be highly centralized. But you know it's going there. And you might as well leverage it to get normies in. That long term, that these big companies aren't going to let this technology pass them by, and they're going to get in on it. So, promo codes, yes, sir. Let's see what else. The same dilution, yeah. And the other thing is, they do need. You're going to get a continued bleed unless you get new users, because I said it a couple videos back. Veve's kind of like an ever-expanding universe, right? They're a company, and their job is to sell product. And so they're constantly going to be selling and releasing. And so it's a universe that's constantly expanding. If your user base isn't growing commensurate with the expansion, then you're going to see things bleed out. That's just supply and demand. If supply increases and demand stays flat or decreases, what happens? Prices bleed out. That's why I advocate for smaller edition sizes. My Collectibles talked about lessening the cost, which is another option. But I also think they'd make more money that way because people wouldn't be scared off by large edition sizes. And they are substantially lower than they had been in the past, but I think it needs to be commensurate with the current user base. Every development seems so hard to achieve. It does seem that way. But they have also, in the past year, so I think that their vision was tremendous, right? They had a great vision. Everyone's here for it. The IP we know is A+. The ease of use is A+. You have to give them a lot of credit for what they've done right. If we were to criticize one portion of it, it would be the tech side of it and the ability to build it all in a timely manner, right? I think they also grew faster than expected. They got caught up in the tailwinds of a bull market that catapulted them. And I think they were taken aback by it. It was a fun ride, but they didn't have the team in place to build out. We need a 50x of current active base. I don't think so. Long term, many years down the line, maybe. But I think even if you had another 25,000 people, right? I think there are about 25. What are the active users? Whatever it was. I think you'd see a difference. Long term, I think you need more. McFarlane Toys will have so much drops in the future, correct? So much brands they have. this is a thing also, and that's also okay. Not everything is going to hold value, right? And so people need to understand that. I like the fact that people aren't going for drops that they don't like. I think that's good. Not everything's going to hold value or go up. Not everything has to. Some will, and some will a lot, right? And that's going to be the natural order of things. What I don't think is healthy or good is for 90% of inventory to go down in value. I don't think that's good. I don't think that inspires confidence. It's what we've seen recently. Again, I don't think that is particularly healthy, long term, not sustainable. But I don't think it'll stay that way. Now the NFT market is more than Veve. Correct. Yes, too many drops now on. But at the same time, they got to make money, right? They got to keep on moving. They have licensors to appeal to or appease. They have to, sell a certain amount of stuff to keep the lights on, to keep on building. And there's so many things that we want from them, like marketing and, them to build things out and get things done. And that requires money. So on the one hand, it's like too many drops. But on the other hand, they need to sell product in order to pay for the things that we want to see happen. So it's a balancing act. It's always going to be a balancing act. It's tougher in a bear market. It will get easier once market conditions change. Let's see what else we got. Viddy Man in the house. What's up? Neymar has Spider-Man, Batman, and yes, getting a sports figure like him exposed to Veve would potentially get him showing. This is correct. And Viddy Man has a very good point here. Oftentimes, overnight successes or overnight like virality only seems like it's overnight because people haven't heard of it yet, right? So it comes out of nowhere. We've been here for a couple of years now, feels like forever. It's very possible, and we've talked about this, that someone like Neymar could take a picture during a press conference with a secret rare Spider-Man and create tons of exposure and eyeballs during a bull market. There is a viral, the potential for a viral nature with Veve, okay? That's not moon boyish. That's, I think, plain to everyone. They have the IP. You've got the AR capability, whatever. There is the potential for a viral moment. And what happens in a bigger market? What happens if the digital collectible space is normalized and then that happens and now you get more people into it and now it's a household name, like Funko or like Mattel? It'll feel to others like an overnight success, but you'll know the struggles, right? And of course, I'm projecting and hypothesizing, but it doesn't feel like that stuff could happen in a bear market. But you have to remember that bear markets don't last forever. And a Beeple painting, a digital Beeple sold for $69 million during the last cycle. So sentiment is short-term. You have to disregard it. If you have long-term conviction in the space and in the product, you just have to ride it out. It's just like crypto. You ride it out. Let's see what else. Get back in the chat. Yep, I saw those Neymar tattoos. Soul says, but you just said that once they become a brand name, blockchain tech people will moon Veve. But if not, even Veve wants to be associated with it. I don't understand what that means. I'm not sure. Not our keys, correct. Not our NFTs, but blockchain is ownership. This is also another good point. Eventually, I'd like to see self-custody. I think Veve would need self-custody long-term. We'll see. That's not going to happen anytime soon. They have other fish to fry right now. They have other priorities that they're working on. We'll see if self-custody is a thing. I'll tell you right now, though, if you are buying Veve collectibles, you should you should prepare for a possibility that self-custody doesn't happen for whatever reason, right? Um, just a word of advice. I'm a huge advocate for self-custody. Typical pump and dumper pick and choosing the narrative that works their motives. They sell collectibles because they think maybe Omi will take value before NFTs in the bull market. Jordan Riz in the house. What's good, Jordan? Twitch streaming, correct, is good free promotion. Also, yes, Twitch streaming is good promotion. And that's also the potential for Veveverse. The potential impact of Veveverse opens up the possibility of people streaming from there and streaming on platforms like Twitch, building, creating, and then you also have the possibility of viral nature there. You're going to have people, so the same way people, you ever watch those Minecraft videos? My kids used to watch them all the time, where people narrate Minecraft and like storytell through Minecraft. That's going to happen in the Veveverse, right? People are going to tell stories, and there are going to be different types of streamers. All of that stuff will help broaden things out. Yes, bored with waiting. It's not easy, especially when we're so tuned into things. I want to get to Omi in a second and price. So let's do that right now. Let's talk about Omi a little. And the price pretty strong over the last last 7 days, up a good over 10%. We saw September was not great, but better than expected, really, for the overall market. And now a run up in the beginning of October, I think, mostly because people were dreading September. There was a lot of, if you look historically at the crypto market, let me go back to my bookmarks. If you look historically, and I think I showed this a couple videos ago, we went through this. Historically, you look at September, right? And red. Really red. There only been a few green Septembers. And so traditionally, historically, this has been the pattern. We had, Fed rate hikes or talk of a hawkish tone struck by Jerome Powell. Overall market decline. But if you look historically at October, they call it Uptober, historically up, right? And so I think people sense that people are, there's more positive sentiment. The expectation is October will be friendly for crypto. Now, I expect volatility. Generally speaking, if you look at end of the year, crypto does pretty well. If you look at the last halving, which was pre-halving, what was that? 2019 was the last pre-halving year. The last 2 months were red, down 17% in November, down 5% in December. But historically, the last 4 years, it's been red end of the year. These aren't always good indicators, but I expect volatility. Just because it's October, I don't necessarily expect for crypto to outperform, just because September defied expectations in a way, right? September wasn't as bad. People were expecting $22,000 Bitcoin, didn't get it. It stayed relatively range bound and strong. And so the same thing might happen in October, right? We might get a fake out, people expecting, a nice pump for Bitcoin, possibly retesting 30, the low 30s, only for it not to happen. I expect volatility until the end of the year. Just my thoughts. Stay range bound. I think OMI ends the year between, somewhere in this range, maybe around here, maybe at 001. I would lean more towards 001 for OMI by end of the year, just because I think that as the year ends, the hype will build about 2024 coming, the halving year, and we'll see, that real hype coming in and a bit of more of a recovery. But we'll see. Who knows? I don't pretend to know what's going to happen. I just expect volatility. Speaking of the overall crypto market, if you're paying attention to politics, you will see that the Speaker of the House was ousted by Republicans, replaced with Congressman Patrick McHenry. And if you're unfamiliar with Patrick McHenry, he is super bullish on Bitcoin. He's an advocate for Bitcoin. He, I believe, recently proposed a bill or something to fire Gary Gensler. He's pushing for Bitcoin spot ETF, right? He wants Gensler gone because of his hesitancy to approve the spot ETF. So this is bullish for the overall market. Now, will his new role as Speaker of the House finally push the SEC towards a spot ETF? I don't know. My expectation is the spot ETF gets approved next year. That's when the final deadlines are for BlackRock and all the big proposed ETFs. And we see approval come just around the halving, which would be tremendous, and I think would create quite the hysteria around Bitcoin and crypto. We'll see. Remember that any tailwind could become a headwind if it doesn't happen, right? Like if they say no to a spot ETF next year, which would defy expectations, then you'll see, tons of FUD or tons of disappointment in the space. And it would maybe put a damper on the halving. We'll see. But let's see how that plays out. But it's good that we have a pro-crypto guy now as the Speaker of the House. And if you saw, RFK Jr. just did an interview with some crypto magazine, maybe CoinMarketCap, whatever it is, about Bitcoin. Right, I think it was maybe Bitcoin Magazine. I think we'll also see Bitcoin on the American national stage next year during the presidential debates, and it's going to be interesting. But if you look at, this is interesting. If you look at where gold, the price of gold was before an ETF, it was all the way down here. And it wasn't until after the gold spot ETF was introduced that you had that huge run up on the price of gold, right? Because it invited institutional money, pension funds and whatnot to get into the gold rush. Now, I recently saw a headline where I forget who it was. It was a major financial institution saying that you can expect $200 billion of cash to flow into Bitcoin on a Bitcoin ETF approval, spot ETF. So what happens to the price of Bitcoin? We'll see, right? We'll see if we get a huge pump and the chart resembles what happened to gold, because you're now going to get legitimacy, you're going to get institutional money, you're going to get pension funds allocating percentages, right? But even 1 to 4%, 1 to 5% of, the trillions of dollars that are invested in different funds, if that or when that eventually makes its way to Bitcoin, you're going to see an explosion in price, followed by the rest of the market. And so circling back to OMI, I think that if the team keeps building out Veve, keeps hitting a cadence of deliverables, not only surviving the bear market, but building during the bear market, Veve and Omi are going to come out of it on the other side fundamentally stronger, right? And you'll see now, consider the exposure for Veve. If Veve continues to partner with Funko, and there is, if this is not a short-term partnership, and Veve continues to build with big fashion brands, continues to get eyes on them, the Veve verse builds out, and they become almost like a household name. What that does to Omi, right? And I think that's the whole thesis. That's why I am bullish on Omi long term, because of the partnerships, because of the real world revenue. And I talked about a little while ago, I mentioned Dubai. There's a lot of, the talk of the metaverse has died out, right? But make no mistake about it, it's still being built. There was way too much hype about it. Everyone was calling themselves a meta. If you looked at the descriptions of everything last cycle, everyone was calling themselves a metaverse token or company or whatever. A lot of hype and speculation. Make no mistake, it's still being built out. The whole concept of it is in development. I don't know if you saw, there was a Mark Zuckerberg interview with, what's that guy's name? Lex Friedman. Lex Friedman, he's famous YouTuber, podcaster, interviewed Mark Zuckerberg in the Oculus, in like the Quest Pro, with like a facsimile, like a representation of Zuckerberg and a representation of Lex that looked real. So like they were in this black space wearing their Oculus in their different countries or cities or whatever, but it looked like they were in a room talking to each other. And this technology is only going to get better and bigger. And you're going to get the Apple Vision Pro come out. And Apple does things better than everyone and makes tech accessible. You're going to get AR glasses built out. So there was an article that I quoted or cited a month ago that said now that the metaverse has been destroyed, they can finally build it properly. That's what's happening now. The hype has gone away, speculation's gone away, and now they can properly build it out. Circling back to Omi and Veve, they will occupy a space in this and if they deliver and do it right, continue to hit their, whatever, build a community, hit a cadence, survive and thrive, they will play a role in this new emerging industry, right? And that's the whole thesis for the Omi token, why I think it can do well, tied to a real world product, real world revenue, biggest IP. And going back to Dubai, I've got a long-winded way of making my points, but the same way Dubai is huge on digital art, you're going to see Dubai and Saudi and big money from these countries pour money into metaverse plays. It was already happening. It's still happening behind the scenes, right? I think Animoca got big Saudi backing. All right. And as the tech develops and, it gets built out right, not just based on speculation, the money's going to flow in to the winners and the ones who do it right. So we'll see how it plays out. But, the thesis remains the same. Time will tell. Let me get back to the chat. Moonboy testers. They have no experts. I don't know what that's referring to. Veveverse by end of the year, I don't believe it at all. Yeah, I don't think so either, based on the way that they are moving. We'll see. I'll be happy if they just get a few more waves of testers. I don't think we're gonna get. I don't know. I hope so, but we'll see. Not sure. Make any good games on. That's a reference to something else. What's up, Slavs? How you doing? Speaking of DeGods, Cardano just shit on Frank and DeGods, told him to keep his garbage product out of Cardano. That's funny. No more NFT farmers. Yeah, it's interesting to watch products from the last bull market and how they're doing. I don't know how I know DeGods left Solana because they thought that they were paid by like Matic or whatever to move over there. I don't know how that community is doing. Let's see what else we got here. 65 watching, only 22 likes. Come on, hopefully that number went up. Thank you, SoCal, for being the watchdog on the like button. Help out the algorithm. What's up, Stan? Veve has completed more goals than any other NFT project. In your opinion, why are there more fudders of Veve than Recur or Wax? Good question. I like that question. I think because there are more community members. I think that there weren't fudders in Recur because they didn't have a community. I don't know what the community on Wax is like, but Veve has a strong, passionate community. And when you couple that with a couple of things, Veve didn't do themselves any favors by overpromising and under-delivering, and their communication early on. There was that, but then the whole market goes down. So it's a combination of things, but you only have fudders if you have a community. So it's bullish to have, if you think about it, when no one's talking about you, that's when you have a problem, right? No one was talking about Recur. No one was talking about Nifties. And what happened? They died, literally. They didn't have fudders because they didn't have community. So there's community. It's a big bear market. There's some poor communication. There are fudders. If you look over on like the Solana, they had a huge amount of FUD, right? Off the heels of SBF and everything that was happening. But they have a big community over there. So Superstar Money did a video with a subcontractor. I saw that for Veve. And they have models they built 2 years ago. Yeah, crazy, I know. So I've known that they have models that they haven't released, or a lot of the stuff that we get now was actually built 2 years ago, which means that like Trevor worked on them and things like that. But I definitely want to catch that Superstar Money video. A lot of comments to get through. I'm going to try to get through a lot of these. When David Yu interview, it's booked. Yes, indeed. David Yu's coming on around the Ecomiverse. So stay tuned for that. Shout out to Jordan Riz for being he's like a pit bull. He's like a bulldog. He doesn't stop. He doesn't take no for an answer. So good job to Jordan for lining that up. It's booked. And I am going to try to make that for sure. The final strike this company got by me were then when they made secret rare drop on Khan and with latency drop system on. I thought I liked it. There are always going to be issues. Not everyone's always going to be happy, but do you believe more in the fudders or the companies that signed on with Veve? Thanks. So I take fudders, moon boys, however you want to call them. I listen to everyone, first of all. And if you're smart and you're a fudder and you make a good point, I'll listen to that point. So it's not necessarily that I don't believe fudders or I believe fudders. But overall, I take into consideration all the information and form opinions. To me, I feel like sentiment's better than it was. There was a lot of FUD. I feel like FUD was at a peak, maybe February to like April, around there. First quarter of the year was peak FUD, I think, in Veve. Right now, I think we're in that depression phase. If you go back to the chart. And make no mistake, though, that's only like the vocal segment on Twitter. There are so many people who are just hunting mints and having fun. who are just not vocal, and they're there. So because they made claims they cannot deliver, yeah, embellishments, correct. Yep, exchanges. I'm thinking I agree with SoCal here in terms of exchanges. I would expect them no sooner than Q2 of 24. I agree because I think they're going to have a certain amount of utility out first, right? It's not just going to be this limited utility. I don't think it's just going to be bronze tickets. I think they're going to want multiple utility features rolled out. And so I think it'll be after Q2, which at this point I'm fine with. I was frustrated about it. I didn't like it, didn't quite agree with the moving of the goalposts, right? I always speak my mind. If I'm upset about something, if I'm frustrated, I'll say it. At this point, I'd rather just wait now and build that momentum in the bull market. So, get ready and hit the cadence, continue working, hitting the deliverables. And then I'm fine with them now waiting. Because I'm happy that they got out their first bit of utility. That's what I was waiting for. It's kind of a sigh after that. Companies want to sell. You can clearly see that. They do not care what they make. I don't know what. No, he's talking to Stan there. I think that so if you remember that David Yu interview, I think it was with Queen Veve, he said that he knows what people want. And they know it's going to be Binance, I think. It's not going to be Coinbase because Reese is all. I had asked Reese about exchanges. I got on stage at like one of their Q&As in the Discord, and I asked him about exchanges. And he had said flat out, don't expect American exchanges, right? That's because of the heightened security, heightened regulatory scrutiny, specifically with Coinbase, who just caught another lawsuit from the SEC, which I think was a countersuit, right? But Coinbase is going to be very careful about anything they list from this point forward because of their, SEC lawsuits and issues. So it's going to be harder to get through the United States, and they want to avoid regulation issues. So Binance is fine, and I think that'll happen. What's interesting is majority of fudders have been brokies living in their parents' homes. Interesting how most of the people with money and long-term vision. Yeah, I do think that I don't put a lot of. There are some. So it depends on the person, and this works in both directions, right? There are certain people who are overly optimistic and who I discount some of what they say. And then there are a bunch of people who are overly pessimistic, don't know what they're talking about, and are angry, disgruntled, or whatever. And the best, I think, way to deal with them is just ignore them because they're engagement hunting, right? They're engagement farming. So I love a good conversation. I'm open to criticism. Right? And people being critical, I think it's necessary, actually. I don't think we should exist in an echo chamber. But, there are certain people who are if someone wants to see someone fail or something fail, I just ignore them. Whatever they don't announce that New York con, most likely they slide a few months. Yeah. I'm curious to see what happens at New York Comic Con and what they release. I'm excited. I'm going. I'll be at the events, the parties. I'm going to be at the con event on Saturday. So I'm really excited. I love these events. And they've said that they're not just doing Marvel. Right? I also want to see that Thursday night party is in conjunction with Funko. And I'm curious to know what this partnership is like long term, right? Is this a one and done? I don't think it is. Otherwise, I don't think Funko would be at the party. Or is it a a long-term thing where every quarter or whatever, there's going to be a tandem release between Funko and Veve. That's what I think will happen. But maybe we'll get more clarity next week at New York Comic Con. So let me know if you're going. Felipe says exchanges after utility like bronze ticket. Yeah, I think it'll happen next year. We will see. Rigby says own me to NFT by Q2. Yeah, I think that's hopefully I'd be happy with that also, right? There was a time when I thought, well, they said it also, right? So they told us that utility program would, it would take a year. I think they underestimated how hard it was to get done or what their capabilities were, whatever it was. There was a time when I thought it's going to happen soon. I've now conditioned myself or adjusted my mind to expect things in a longer time frame. So give us the bronze tickets. Owe me to NFT. I'll take it. Q2 of 24. That's fine. Maybe end of year next year, something else. And every quarter or 2 quarters, give us a major deliverable. Now they're building. And in time, that's bullish and awesome. Let's see what else we got. There's no business that's 100% transparent. This also, I know a lot of people get upset about a lot of things. I get upset about certain things, but this happens in all businesses where there is massaging of facts or whatever. Snap poll 1 to 10. 10 equals bad. How good is our Veve's communications? Ooh. Did people answer? So 1 to 10. 10 is bad. Oh, I see. And you say 9. Very poor. I would say I'd say a little better than that, but still I want to see improvement. So I would say like 7 if 10 is bad. But I prefer this. I prefer them to be a little quieter and build and get things done than what they were doing, which was a year and a half ago, over communicating and over promising. That to me leads to disappointment. This leads to pleasantly surprised, right? Once things happen. Like you weren't expecting Funko and they hit you with Funko. You weren't expecting Baba, they hit you with Baba. And and localization, really, because there was a time when localization was something that everyone was pining for and waiting for. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There was a time when localization was this huge milestone that was supposed to be met and that everyone was excited about because it signaled the possibility of anime and opening up to a wider audience. And, they started that. They have the translated languages in the app now. They have the partnership with the cloud services with Baba. They have the partnership with Veve, a South Korean company that does, work in tech and VR and AR and stuff like that. And no one's even talking about it, right? And so I think they've improved in that regard. Not sure, disagrees. He said it's the worst thing. Veve's communication is the worst thing they ever saw. Yeah. So, people have different opinions. I have a feeling Jordan is going to live back at his mom's basement. That's funny. Jordan loves you. I think Jordan's going to be okay. Even if Omi doesn't do okay, Jordan will be fine because he doesn't only own Omi, right? And so if you're only holding Omi, you're placing a big bet that I'd never put all my eggs in one basket. Never. I don't care what that basket is. That's me personally. But, if you diversify a bit and you hold other things that are strong, I'm sure it would suck for Jordan if Omi didn't work out, but I think he'll be fine because he's got other things that will do well. So, I love the love in the chat. I'm not that far off break even with my Omi investments. And that's also the thing. People think that if you own an alt, or if you own Omi, you're automatically wrecked. If you own ADA and you weren't here last cycle, you're automatically wrecked. People have been averaging down, buying at low prices, right? And bringing that cost basis down. And so I'm with Jordan on this one. I'm not that far off from break even with my Omi bag either, because I'm in the 001 space. I'm at like 0015 or 6 or something. So, it's a 50% move up, and I'm break even all of a sudden on Omi, and my bag is much bigger than it was 2 years ago. That's the beauty of a bear market and why it's such an opportunity. Now, again, Omi has to deliver, and they have to hit long term, but it's the beauty of a bear market. I love it. SoCal with his Q4 countdown, only 121 days left in Q4, and I love that too. I love that we are in Q4 because that means that Q1's right around the corner of 2024, and then the Bitcoin halving is here. And I love that. What that means is now if history proves to repeat itself, there's a limited amount of time now, right? To secure your bags. And a lot of people expect for another, and I've said I expect Bitcoin to retest like low 20s. I'm not convinced of it, but it's my expectation that it's going to continue to be volatile until year end. And there are things that in the macro that could make it volatile, right? To the downside. But it's not going to be in the 20,000s range forever. And after this cycle, you may not see it come back to this level, and you may not see some of these alts come back to these levels because you see ADA at 25 cents right now, and it seems really low coming off a high of $3 in the last bull market. But if you were here last cycle, ADA was 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents. And you don't have that opportunity to buy ADA now at 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents. But you have an opportunity to buy it at 25 cents. And maybe if Cardano executes on what they're doing, these prices don't ever come back. And maybe if Omi and Veve, if Veve becomes a well-known brand akin to Funko again, and Omi executes, then maybe you don't see 0005 ever again. Who knows? Or maybe they don't, recapture a new all-time high and they go down 90%. We don't know, right? Can't predict the future, but my thinking is I like certain projects, and I'm capitalizing on this bear market, try to build my my stack as much as I can, and then sell in the bull market. And that's the key point. Rigby's also nearing break even. Nothing for users or anyone else to do. We can't even trade. Yeah, true also, right? There needs to be more. I heard VVverse is releasing. Sound money. Funny. Bookmarks for comics. You mean, are we in a bull market? I think hindsight will show. Depends on how you measure a bull market. Some people measure it with volume and things like that. And if you measure it off of have we hit a bottom, then technically, I think yes. Technically, in hindsight, we will say that, if the bull market is marked by the end of the bear market and like the bottoming out of Bitcoin and whatever, then I think that the bottom is in. We will see. It's crazy. There's people still thinking that, and smart people too, that Bitcoin hasn't hit a bottom, that we're gonna see sub 16K. I don't see it, but time will tell. Liquidity comes from macro gains. No amount of good news in Veve will really move the needle. Kind of agree there. Maybe a small temporary pump. Macro is turning around, so it's patience game. I agree with that. That's when I think the users come in. That's when liquidity comes in. Cycle has to turn. Cavernous makes Veve not unique since anyone who pays. So yeah, what makes Veve verse unique is the fact that you can use Veve assets in it, and you can have the community there. Sure, Cavernous. There might be another, Cavernous metaverse where you can build the same way, and maybe the templates look the same, but you can't move your Veve assets there, and the community's not there. That's what makes Veveverse unique to me. And to me, the most important thing about any NFT project, collectibles project, is the community and the passion of the community and the, I guess, the interest, right? The problem is this: if you write Veve on Google, you don't even get any suggestions about our Veve, nothing. And that'll take time. We're very young in this whole space and in the lifespan of the company, right? So I know we are tuned in minute by minute on Twitter, on YouTube. We're all connected, and there are different chat groups, and we talk about these things every day. We're still very young in terms of the space and in terms of the company's growth. So time will tell. The whale ratios of owned OMI is still increasing. Very few new OMI holders, unless they are. So I'm interested to see I haven't looked at the stats of new OMI wallets. I think they did go up when utility was announced. So it also shows you whales accumulating means that you have a core group of people who are buying it up because they think it's cheap. And the same thing happens if you look at any coin, look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, look at all the alts, ADA, the blue chips. Watch the whales. Many of them are adding and buying during the bear market and then selling during the bull. Are we going back down? I think we'll get some more volatility in crypto, but I wouldn't be surprised if we went down a bit, but I don't think we go back to lows. 6K on Top Shot. That sucks, dude. Sorry to hear it, man. Yeah. I didn't get into Top Shot. It had piqued my interest, but it was too late because that's, but by the time I got it, I heard about it or went for a drop or whatever, it was already hyped. Too late. So thankfully, I didn't lose 6K on it. So there's no timeline on OMI to NFT. Reese was in a Telegram group and he was asked about what's next behind Bronze Tickets, and he wasn't quite sure what the blockchain team had next in the pipeline. So there's now a team of people working, and things will come in the order, I guess, that they feel or what makes sense. I think OMI to NFT will maybe come, but NFT to OMI, we'll see. No, I think you'll be able to. We'll see. I think you'll be able to sell. What's the difference? OMI to NFT, NFT to OMI. It's the same thing, unless you're cashing out. I think you can cash out with crypto. That's different. After a New York Comic Con, if no catalyst, it'll drop along with. Yeah, we'll see there. My collectibles is fudding. He don't bud. Shago, yeah, smash that like button. Help me out. I'm in a bear market too, man. I'm in a bear market. My channel. It's interesting when you're creating content, you can notice the difference in terms of your viewers, your subs, and things like that, how fast your channel grows. And I'm in a bear market too. To be honest, neither are, I think you're talking about Catalyst and things like this. 50x gets us to 100K. David targets 1 million. Yeah, I don't think we get to 1 million users in 3 years, unless something crazy viral happens. I think that's real. We were at 2.5 million, right? But kidding. I don't think we get to 1 million real users anytime soon. I know David talks about that as the long-term plan, or I guess 3 to 5 years. But even if we got to 100,000, I think that's big. How many monthly active users are there? Like 20,000 or whatever. Daily active, 2,000. So it's a 50x. So if you're talking daily active, 50x, think about the percentage of those people who would be whales and the buying they would do. So you don't need 1 million. Even if they got to 20,000 active users, it's a 10x from where we are. I think that's possible. Feels rough in a bear market, but these things are temporary, right? So you have to be willing to play the long game and mentally prepared. Cut it out. No more OMI utilities between Bronze taking OMI to NFT during 2024. Oh, there will be others. Yeah, I mean, there are a list of other utilities. I don't know what the order is. There are a bunch of them. OMI to accessories. I forget what else. Eventually, there's like in-app, like Veve versus Land and things like that, long-term. And I'm sure there is stuff in the pipeline. I'm stoked to see so much development and good news in the last few months. Bear, yeah, and I totally agree. So when you look at that Veve Fox data, could be depressing. You look at the vault values going down, but focus on the fundamentals of what they're building and accomplishing. And to me, things are headed in the right direction, albeit not at lightning speed, but maybe that was never realistic. Looks like oh, the looks don't matter. You guys are funny. How do you expect the people to get back to the app when this clowns only lie? Oh, do you think people don't have enough? So deliver first. Yeah, deliver, right? So if they deliver, then I think people come back. And that's what I'm talking about. I think they have to deliver. So for those people who are frustrated and have left, I think that Veve needs to deliver, and then maybe some of them come back. But if you notice that a lot of people who left are still tracking the progress, they're still monitoring it, they still have their finger on the pulse of the community and what's going on. So what does that tell you or show you? When I leave something, if I sell a stock, I sell it and I leave. If I sell a crypto, whatever, if I have no intention of buying or coming back, I sell, I leave. You don't really get that with Veve. People linger. They keep their finger on the pulse of it. Why is that? Is it because they're so entwined with the community and they have connections to people? Is it because the product resonates with them and they really, really like the product, but they don't like certain things that have happened? And if that's the case, maybe the deliverables, getting the deliverables done, does bring them back, right? And that's why I say that's the low-hanging fruit. And instead of trying to convert or while you're trying to convert people, that's a long-term plan. Short-term plan to increase users is just deliver and pull people back in. I haven't had water in 2 hours. This is why I don't like NFT people. They don't care about crypto. They throw crypto under the bus to make more fiat. Randy Chavez is a good guy, and yeah, I like Randy's a good guy. For me, I watch Randy for entertainment and Patient Hodler to get some good analysis. And everyone has their own role or whatever, and people you'll vibe with and not vibe with. So that's my boy. Strongly believe they do. As Danny is talking about, the bear market is tough, but also meant for building. Yep. I think we have a lot to see and be excited for. Yep. Why don't we have a roadmap? Even simple. So I think that we do have a roadmap, or we know what's coming. We know that MCP has different stages. We know that OMI utility has different aspects to it that will be rolling out. We just don't have a timeline of the roadmap. And I think we know why that is. Because they failed to meet it in the past by a lot and got a lot of backlash, and they shifted their plan, which I think was a good move. We know what's on the roadmap. We just don't have timelines. We do have priorities, though, right? So we know what's coming long-term, and we know what short-term priorities are. So their short-term priorities right now are rolling out Veveverse to more waves of people. They said they were working on fixing the wait list and then hopefully getting the MCP out and bronze tickets. I don't think we see 0004. Would I be shocked if crypto collapsed? Like, I think about what it would take for a new bottom or for Bitcoin to go back to like below 16K. We've survived the Luna collapse, survived FTX, and the cascade of different exchanges going down. It was crazy. A war in Russia, record inflation, record rate hikes in terms of the escalation of the rate hikes, the speed at which they raised rates. Crazy macro conditions. And Bitcoin held relatively strong. What would it take for it to plummet back? Also, regulatory unclarity we escaped, and SEC suing a bunch of people. What would it take? Binance going down? Could Binance go down, and what would that do? That's like something. Is that within the realm of possibility? Right? They're being sued for a bunch of things. Who knows what's going on underneath the hood over there? When I think of like what could cause major fear in the whole crypto space, akin to what we've seen over the last year and a half, that's one of the things. Will it happen? I don't know. But I don't think we see 0004. I do think the bottom is in. Very hard to build in the bear. Low funds. It's after 8 o'clock. I'm going to stay on for another 5 minutes and chill out and watch some Champions League. North Korea has way more people than Veveverse. I don't know what. Ignore the panic news. Watch the charts. Macro is turning around. Yeah, and that will bring collectors. Yeah. That is what I believe. Centralized crypto projects going to get hit by the government, and you'll be like, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, right? Puddin' Cheeks in the house. What's up, Puddin'? Love your latest TikTok. What's going on, buddy? Love your latest TikTok, your AI read poetry. You're funny, man. Planet Vampire bought another million Omi today as a birthday present for myself. Happy birthday. I bought more. So I didn't buy Omi this week, but I won two fantasy baseball leagues. I came in first in one, second in another. Got about $2,000 in reward money, and I bought some crypto with it. I thought about buying Omi, but I bought some super low caps instead. I am planning on buying some more Omi, DCAing in the next few months to try to add my last few million before things pick up next year. BlackRock and ETFs off chain are going to centralize crypto big time. Yeah, eventually, so this is going to happen. You know that big money's coming, big finance is coming, and they're going to take over the space. It's going to happen. What else we got up in here? Bitcoin's a scam. That's crazy talk, bro. What are you talking about? What else we got? Crypto Rain was mentioning ETFs allow for shorting and aren't always good. Yeah, so I need to do more research on this. I've done minimal, and I need to see. I've heard a couple things. I've heard this. There will be adverse effects of ETFs for sure. All right. But I think the inflows will far outweigh that. I need to do more research to speak to it more coherently or better. But there will definitely be negative aspects brought to the space. But I think it's necessary to get that big money in. SoCal 93. Man, that's crazy. So Chris Severs in the house. Think about this as a great example. There are only 45 Spider-Man common collectibles for sale in market of a total 32K. People, yeah. It's interesting to look at things from different perspectives, right? And I do think that, but the other thing is, Chris, when the price goes up, I think you'll see more people listing, and many get delisted if they've been on there for every month, right? They delist now. But there are plenty of people holding. Yep, they did improve. Great, good chat as always. Bull market definition on Google is 20% of off the bottom. Yeah, this is correct. So we are technically then in a bull market. People hate bear markets while in them, but beg for them to return when the bull takes flight. Correct. They didn't pack their bags. 1000% agree with. I used to be scared of bear markets. I used to do tons of research about like indicators for a bear market or how bad it gets, back years ago. And now, if you have a long-term mindset and you have assets that will survive a bear market, then it's a gift, is what it is. And you make your money in the bear market by loading up on cheap assets, but the hard part is selling it in a bull market. And that's the basic principle of investing is buy low, sell high. Hard to do psychologically on both ends, right? When everything is low and there's FUD and fear and everyone's saying it's going to go to zero and it's a Ponzi scheme and there's scams, it's hard to buy. Likewise, when you get euphoric, and Warren Buffett called them animal spirits, and you're filled with animal spirits because the green candles are just pumping off, it's hard to sell. But that's the whole point. Buy low, sell high. So I don't own any bumper. I have seen Rain talking about it. I need to do some research. I'm going to make a video maybe next week, maybe this weekend. I'm going to live stream some Omi, like strictly Omi stuff for next cycle. and maybe also the really super macro small caps that I like. Those $5 million market caps, $50 million market caps. I think that those are you're going to see 100x gains next cycle from those 1000x gains out of some. And with that, I want to thank you guys. 2 hours, man. We did 2 hours together, still 60 strong here in a bear market. So thank you all for coming through. Appreciate you all. I will be back maybe this week. And I invited Foster on. He's working this weekend, long hours, but he wants to make it happen. I want to make it happen. One of these days, me and Foster are going to get together for an FA live stream together, one-on-one. We've only been together in a group. We're going to chat about Omi and Veve, and I think it'll be fun. So we'll see if that happens this weekend. If not, I'll be back solo talking about Omi, some small caps, some Veve stuff. Peace out. Thank you all for coming through. Hit the like button on the way out. I will catch you in the next one.